You are listening to the Keeping It Juicy podcast.
Your main squeeze in nutrition.
Don't forget to subscribe and click the bell icon on YouTube so you can get notified every Tuesday when we upload a new episode.
You can also add us on Facebook and Instagram at Keeping It Juicy Podcast. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to episode 33. Are you prepared to get wet? Because we are. And by wet, we mean water. So hold on.
Wet and wild.
Real wet and wild. But
oh man, great intro.
Thank you. But before we do get into that, let's go into our new nutrition in the news, which I don't know if you guys already know this, but I already get like weekly emails from the Academy of Nutrition Dietetics, even though technically I didn't pay the membership fee, but they still send me the emails. So
oh my gosh.
But
so you're actually not part of the A&D right now?
Because I did not renew.
Why?
I mean, the only reason why I was in it was because I like the diabetes group and I like the renal group. Everything else is just stupid and waste of money. So, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So, after that tangent, let's go into the new nutrition in the news. So, in one of those emails, they do send out a whole bunch of studies and articles and whatnot, and they take a whole bunch and just put it in one document. And this one came out in the United Kingdom, and I don't know why it's in a UK article when it's about the University of Iowa. But anyways,
right.
Anyways, the title of this article, which we'll link in the show notes, is "Overweight People Really Enjoy Food Compared to Normal People." So basically, research. I know it's a weird concept. I don't know who came up with it and why, but basically, researchers at the University of Iowa studied 161 people of various sizes. At the end of this study, they found that obese women needed to eat 12.5 pieces of chocolate to fall to the same level of taste perception as non-obese women who ate only 10 pieces. So people who were hungrier before eating were more likely to enjoy the food, which I feel like that's more of a correlation rather than a causation.
Well, and it's also like it doesn't matter what size you are. I feel like we all enjoy food better when we're hungry.
Saying.
Like
that's what I'm saying. This article, I was just like, the bigger you are, the more you enjoy food.
There's a lot of things wrong with that.
Right. But so apparently another thing that they did know is that women stopped enjoying food quicker than men do. And yeah,
that's interesting.
Yeah, which I don't know where they came from because this focuses on women specifically. And apparently hearing nutritional information prior to eating chocolate did not affect their enjoyment. I mean,
yeah,
it's just such a weird study.
Yeah, I mean, I'm thinking about how, like, I guess I would fall into these results, and it's like, yeah, if I hear the nutritional information of something, it doesn't necessarily affect my enjoyment, but it may affect my decision to eat it or not. But I feel like I'm going to enjoy it the exact same way. Like, oh, it doesn't taste as good because it has more calories, or vice versa. Like,
I mean, if that's the case, look at cheesecake. I'm like, oh, a slice is 400 calories. Ooh.
Maybe.
I'm still gonna eat it.
Yeah.
But
and I find it very confusing. Like, how do they like measure taste perception? Like, how can you measure how I taste something and how you might taste something? And
it's just,
I don't know.
I mean, the details are probably in the study. It's just interesting.
Yeah.
But please feel free to shoot us a message and comment on this article because it's just
Mhm.
me
Mhm.
and it's
It's
weird.
odd. It's just an odd title. It's an odd thing to study.
Well, we
Like,
live in an odd world, so there's that.
yeah, and just what will these results really help do? I don't
Themselves.
know.
It'll help themselves.
I I don't know. Very interesting. Very, very odd and out there.
Mhm.
So let's get into the majority of our episode, which, if you didn't already guess, it's all about water. So, as you can see, we stay properly hydrated. Um,
Very hydrated and wet. This is not for kids.
let's get into it. So first of all, what is water? So water is also known as H2O, and it is comprised of hydrogen and oxygen. To be exact, 2 hydrogen and 1 oxygen, H2O. If it isn't already known, water is essential for life. Um, one of the like a key thing to survival of not just humans but like plants, animals, any form of life is to prevent like dehydration. And yeah, without water, humans can really only survive for a couple days. I mean, I think back to like 6th grade camp and they told us 3 days, but there really are like a few factors that play a part in that, like
Right.
temperature, humidity, how much you have to exert yourself. There's different factors that play into like how hydrated you were before you lost touch with water. So a couple days, maybe not specifically 3, but you can't go a very long time. You can go
No.
much longer without food
Mhm.
than water. So water comprises like a large amount of our body. In the average adult human, it's about 65%, but it does vary depending on like muscle mass, male, female, things like that. Infants, their body is actually about 75% water and 55% in elderly.
And it's important to note that water is kind of like the medium of all metabolic reactions in our body too.
Yeah.
So that's why you need water. But how much does thou need? How much water? How much should you hydrate yourself? So the general rule of thumb is actually half your weight in ounces or 1 ounce per kilogram. So if you take your body weight in pounds, unless you're listening from out of the country,
Hmm.
take your body weight in pounds and divide that by 2.2 to get your kilograms, and then that's basically about how many ounces you should be drinking in a day.
Hmm.
So ideally, though, you want to drink enough so that your pee is a super light yellow because you don't want like dark apple juice, sweet tea looking things coming out of you. But water intake will depend heavily again on temperature, humidity, how much you exert yourself, food intake, and your general overall health status as well.
Right. So, of course, there is like a general rule of thumb, but because it varies, like your water needs are going to vary every day too. So,
Right.
yeah, just keep that in mind. Urine color is the best way to actually determine like how hydrated you are. Um, so
And
now
if
we'll
it's red, go to the hospital.
if it's any color like but clearish yellow, something might be wrong.
Help.
Yeah. So now we'll jump into what the different types of water are. So first and foremost, you actually do get water from your food. Sometimes we forget about this, but there actually is a good amount of water in your food. And in the United States, it's estimated that about 22% of our water comes from our food intake, while it's actually much higher in European countries, particularly Greece, and then South Korea as well. So it's just kind of thought that they have higher intakes of fruits and vegetables. And yeah.
That Mediterranean diet, though, and Asian
Hmm.
diet.
Eat your fruits and vegetables. You need them.
With that being said, we're going to go into the most interesting part of the show, aka the water range in certain foods, which I actually find this interesting. So, I mean, joke all you want, but let's dive right in. So, the first thing is water. 100%. Is water. In case you didn't know, there's nothing else but water. But basically, the percentage of water that's between 90 to 99% is usually in, believe it or not, fat-free milk, cantaloupe, strawberries, watermelon, lettuce, cabbage, celery, spinach, pickle, squash, cooked. But so, I mean, obviously watermelon is a given, but I didn't know about squash and cabbage and all that stuff. Well, actually, cabbage I kind of get. I'm actually surprised because the next category, 80 to 89% of what is water is fruit juice. I'm surprised it's not higher.
Well,
So
it's probably all the sugar.
Just floating around like.
Yeah. It's like a concentrate.
So fruit juice, yogurt, apples, grapes, oranges, carrots, cooked broccolis, pears, and pineapples, and from there.
But I will give it to you. I'm surprised that fruit juice has less water than fat-free milk, because there's a lot of other like non-water compounds in milk too.
Right. I was surprised about that. Maybe fat just takes up such a huge percent. I mean, besides, my patients say fat-free milk doesn't even taste like milk. It's just watered down milk. So, which is not true.
I can't even taste the difference.
Whole milk tastes so gross.
I haven't had whole milk in years.
I tried it one time. I thought it was 2%. I thought I almost threw up. I spit it right back out. But try to tell that to the country folks here in Southeast Texas. but anyways, then you have 70 to 79%, which is bananas, avocados, cottage cheese, ricotta cheese, baked potatoes, cooked corn, and shrimp. And then 60 to 69% is pasta, legumes, salmon, ice cream, chicken breasts. Like even a chicken breast has a shit ton of water.
Right.
I mean, if you cook it, you notice it shrinks in size too. And then
weight.
Yes.
And weight.
And then from 50 to 59%, you have your ground beef, hot dogs, feta cheese, and tenderloin steak that's cooked. So the next one, 40 to 49% of water is just pizza, apparently.
There's nothing else that can fit in that category.
No. So if you want to get hydrated, just eat a shit ton of pizza. Actually, don't do that.
No.
Don't do that. This is not medical advice. Don't do that. And then 30 to 39% is cheddar cheese, bagels, bread. Yes, bread has water. And then 20 to 29% is pepperoni, sausage, cake, biscuits. 10 to 19% is butter, margarines, and raisins. And then 1 to 9% is walnuts, dry roasted peanuts, chocolate chip cookies, crackers, cereals, pretzels, taco shells, peanut butter. And the only thing with no freaking water is oils and sugar. So please do not just eat fried butter.
By the way, we did not compile this list. This came from a study, so.
Yes, and we will attach that too, and you will see the chart yourself. So maybe we could have taken that down a notch, but no, we're going to tell you the entire category.
They couldn't have found any other food to fit that 40 to 49% than pizza. Like nothing else, just pizza. Pizza is the only food that fits that category.
Everything in moderation.
Science is silly sometimes.
It is silly. I love it.
So now we're going to get into different types of water. So we'll just talk, tap water will be the first one we'll talk about, and you probably know what this means. It's coming from just the piped water supply that, you know, probably all of our homes have, all the restaurants have, so just tap water. So we're going to just talk about like pros and cons. So although like a lot of people kind of have this idea about tap water that it's like tastes bad or there's safety concerns, tap water across the United States is actually pretty safe. And it's also cheap, you know, it's inexpensive. There's not really any safety concerns unless you live in like a very specific area where they release like a statement saying like, hey, you shouldn't because of X, Y, or Z, but most of the United States.
Like Flint, Michigan.
Yeah, exactly. So if you live in one of these areas, you probably, completely disregard that, but you probably know if the water is not safe. But most of the
Mm.
United States, you're good. We're obviously not going to go into every state like we went over every food in the chart, but
Pizza. That's all I got.
So, some of the cons with tap water. So, you already mentioned Flint, Michigan, and there is a water crisis going on there. And sometimes there are harmful substances that do show up in water. Some research has found like little plastic pieces, and this is more so like worldwide on a worldwide scale. So, some of the cons with drinking tap water, so there are like industry regulations that are meant to keep the water safe and clean, but sometimes that doesn't work. There can be water crises like Flint, Michigan. And then, just on a worldwide scale, research shows that the water is not always safe to drink. Plastic particles can show up, things that can get you very sick, like pesticides, bacteria. So, don't drink the water everywhere, but for the most part in the US, it's very safe.
Hmm.
If you're concerned about like where you live, you can always purchase a filtration system. I bought a thing that attaches to your sink, and
Hmm.
you just change out the little filter once every like 3 months or when it turns red. And it was
Right.
like $30, and then the filters are like an additional 10. So very inexpensive when you compare it to like getting bottled water every day or something like that.
Right.
Hmm.
Right. And then the not and then the next water that we look at is mineral water. So this is literally pulled from a mineral spring,
Hmm.
and just like the name states, and it usually contains sulfur, magnesium, and calcium, basically all things that are pretty good for you. And the pros to having mineral water is it does have some health benefits since it provides minerals that your body can't create on its own. So drink
Hmm.
mineral water a little more. And it
Hmm.
can also help aid in digestion, and many people even like the taste of it over tap water. And I mean, it really depends on the taste. I mean, do you remember Manitou Springs in Colorado? Literally.
We took a trip together,
Yes.
and all throughout this town in Colorado, it's called Manitou Springs. They have natural mineral like springs that are just they're part of the city. Like you walk down the street, there's a spring,
Mhm.
and each one has a different mineral content to it. And yeah, what did you think about the taste?
It's not bad. I mean, just each one of them tasted different too. So I'm
Hmm.
sure someone wouldn't have liked it. I mean, I saw a lot of people. Some lady have like bottles of water just waiting to fill
Yep.
it up with spring water.
Mhm.
So
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah. It
yeah.
it some of them have a very there I remember there was one, and they called it like the vampire spring or something because it's
Oh.
supposed to taste like blood because it has a lot of iron.
Oh.
So
Mm.
but some people love it. Like so it just
I'm anemic.
pretty much. So
Right.
there's definitely kind of just taste to it. So some people might like it.
Right.
Some people I don't like it. I don't drink the spring water when we go to Manitou. It just not my thing.
I mean, if you want to go that route, or there's the actual route of purchasing the
Yeah.
water,
Yeah.
which unfortunately, compared to tap water, is definitely going to be more expensive, and that's just one of the cons.
Mhm.
But I mean, you can also obtain a lot of these minerals that you find in the water from your food,
Mhm.
unless your diet is crappy. But
Mhm.
again, if you have a varied diet, you shouldn't have an issue with getting any of these minerals.
Right. The water's not gonna make or break it for you.
Mm-mm.
So the next one is distilled. So a lot of us probably have heard this word thrown around before, but a lot of us might not know exactly the process for it. But basically, what it is this water is boiled, and then the steam is collected, which, as we know, steam will eventually turn back into water too. But
Hmm.
basically, throughout this process, all of the potential contaminants or other minerals, vitamins that were in the waters, like, don't go off into the steam, so you don't get any of those. But
Mhm.
distilled water is a good option, like, no matter where you live or visiting somewhere, if the water where you're visiting is potentially contaminated.
Mhm.
Because of the distillation process, there's literally nothing else in it, which does lead to some of the cons. So most of us would think like, "Oh, it's completely pure water, there's nothing else in there," which sounds fine and dandy, but because there's no other minerals in there, when you drink it, the pure water can actually pull minerals from other parts of your body, especially your teeth. So, it's just kind of that concept of high concentration to low concentration. The water
Right.
literally has nothing, so
Mhm.
minerals are gonna flow to that lower concentration. So, but that's,
So, don't
minimal
drink
con. I mean, it's minimal, but, you know.
just don't drink it all the time.
Yeah, exactly. Like, yeah, get
Yeah.
some variation in there.
And so the next one is purified water, and obviously a lot of us have already heard about it.
Mhm,
And it's usually tap or groundwater, which has been treated to remove those harmful substances like bacteria, fungi, and parasites. So basically, it pretty much guarantees that it's pretty safe.
mhm,
So, like distilled water, purified water is a great option if your immediate water source is contaminated. And many countries do purified tap water. So basically, like distilled water, purified water is a great option if your immediate water source is contaminated. And I feel like purified water is easier to find than distilled water, anyways.
mhm,
But the cons of it is because of all the potentially harmful substances removed from the purified water, you can actually miss out on the potentially beneficial ones that are added to tap waters, like fluoride, which a lot of people are like, oh no, that causes autism too. Um, but people don't know that by adding fluoride, it helps to reduce that tooth decay.
it actually
So,
was required by the government to
right,
put fluoride in our water,
right,
but
which
conspiracists will say it was
they're
for
just trying
another
to control
reason.
our minds. But so, I mean, you can either buy purified water by itself, or you can actually install the filtration system at home,
Mhm,
uh, which is pretty easy. I mean, I
mhm,
have a Brita
mhm,
wa- filtered water thing
mhm,
that I put in all the
mhm,
time, so it's totally
mhm. They also make, like, like, Brita water bottles themselves that have the filter in them, so you could literally fill up your water, like, anywhere you're at, and the filter's, like, with you.
fine. Right.
So, there's a lot of options.
Hmm.
So now we will get into like flavored or infused water, and this is a huge category. So this is just basically any water that's been sweetened with sugar or artificial sweeteners, or even infused with like lemon or strawberry or mint or like whatever. But we're basically going to talk about the sugar sweetened ones. So think like vitamin water or Propel or something like that.
Hmm.
And the thing with these is like they're very good for people who are like exercising because they tend to have electrolytes in them and
Hmm.
vitamins, minerals as well. So good for those types of people, but the con on the other end is that they do have a ton of added sugar, which is fine for an athlete who like exerted themselves, but for your average person who
No.
doesn't need all of that sugar, they can have a lot of sugar. And again, this is not like groundbreaking, but just something
Mhm.
to always reiterate. And it's part of nutrition education as well because I mean, I just think back to like high school and like everyone had a vitamin water because they thought it
Ooh.
was healthy. And it's not, it's okay, but it's as much sugar as a soda. So that's part of our job too to like educate the public like okay, these do have a lot of sugar and it could be very detrimental for someone who has like diabetes for example and they're trying to
Right.
pursue a more healthy lifestyle and they're like, "Oh, active people drink the Gatorade and the Propel, I will too." And it's like, not the best choice for you right now. So,
That was until they came out with the 0 calorie one.
yeah. And vitamin water has a 0 calorie one too, but it's all part of nutrition education because
Right.
They look very similar sometimes, and if you don't know what to look for, you're not gonna, get the right thing.
Right. So, and last but certainly not least,
Oh, my
which
favorite.
actually maybe least, but but alkaline water. So, I don't like this. I already don't. So
Don't
okay, I'm trying not to judge. I'll leave it to you.
don't get your opinion all twist tied in here.
What else did we start this podcast for? But but honestly, alkaline water does have a higher pH level than normal tap water, and it contains alkaline minerals. So the pro of this is the fact that this water has a higher pH level. So it has an 8.8 versus the neutral 7 pH level of regular water, and some people believe that may help neutralize acid in the body. I guess if you have acid reflux, it'll help. And some people may think it helps slow the aging process, allowing for more hydration, slow bone loss, or even prevent or cure cancer. But uh, there's honestly very little scientific proof to actually back up those claims.
Mhm.
Like I said, it can help with acid reflux by helping lower that or increase that stomach
Mhm.
pH.
Yeah, I think raising the stomach pH is really the only thing that does have a slight scientific backbone, but
Right.
all of these other things have no scientific foundation, and we're gonna get into that right now, why
Mhm.
that's not the case. So the the main concept behind alkaline water is that it's a higher pH than regular water. Like she said,
Mhm.
it's like 8-ish versus 7. 7 is neutral. But the problem with this theory is that the body doesn't have a set pH. Like you don't walk around at 7.6 pH. Like different parts of your body have a different pH. So, for example, blood is give or take 7.4, but muscles are like 6.1 ish, give or take. So, your body doesn't have a set pH. There's always like ups and downs in different parts. Like your
Mhm.
stomach is like 2 something. So different body parts have completely different pH. And your body has a built-in system to
Already
keep
comes with it. That is
included.
included.
That's included, yeah. And it's extremely, I emphasize, extremely hard to outsmart that system that we inherently all have.
Mhm.
So, we'll talk about the first way that your body maintains its pH, and it's called the release of CO2. If we don't know, CO2 is an acidic compound. So, the release of CO2 is also known as breathing.
Whoa.
So, so simply by breathing, your body is maintaining its own pH.
Keep that sarcasm to yourself, lady.
I'm sorry, but drinking alkaline water is yeah. So the second way that your body maintains its pH is actually through the kidneys. So we know, but the kidneys' role is to basically filter your blood and excrete what you don't need through the urine.
Mhm.
You don't want to fuck with your kidneys. Like they
Nope.
have a job to do. Do not make them have to work harder. So if you drink alkaline water and your blood starts to get a little bit different in pH, your blood obviously goes through your kidneys, and your kidneys are going to have to work differently to maintain your blood
Mhm.
pH. Why are you going to make your kidneys work harder than they have to? She can vouch that
Exercise.
that's not good.
No. I work with everyone with damaged kidneys.
Yeah, so you do not want to fuck with your kidneys.
Although I have not met someone that damaged their kidneys from alkaline water, and
Yeah,
I do not want to meet the first one
mhm.
to do that.
I think you'd have to literally drink it for, I mean, I don't know this, I'm just estimating, but like regular water is a pH of 7.
Mhm.
Like alkaline water is like 8. So the
Yeah.
pH is honestly not that different, which is why the negative side
I
effect.
I've seen an alkaline water as high as 9 or 10.
Actually, I have seen that too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But, I don't think people consistently drink enough of it to have kidney damage, but who knows what the future holds, honestly.
Mm-hmm.
But there are studies that have found that drinking alkaline water increases urine pH. And the thing is, like, that's actually a really good thing because so you drink alkaline water, right? It goes through your stomach, it goes through your intestines, it gets in your bloodstream, it goes to your kidneys. Your kidney's job is to excrete what it doesn't need, which are some of those alkaline compounds, to
Mm-hmm.
maintain your blood's pH. Because if your blood's pH gets out of whack,
Mm-hmm.
those proteins and enzymes and like red blood cells that are essential to your life in your
Mm-hmm.
bloodstream will start to like denature and you can die or have like major organ damage if your blood's pH is too out of whack. So these studies that find urine pH is high, it's actually a very good thing, but it doesn't mean that your body's pH has changed at all. It just means your kidneys are doing their job. So
Right.
these studies are actually not finding anything except that the participants had properly working kidneys. So
Yeah, don't do it.
it's just it's not there's not enough research to support that it does anything beneficial. So in excess, it can lead to metabolic alkalosis, which can produce symptoms of like nausea and vomiting, but that's in very like it's not going to happen from drinking like one bottle of alkaline water. Like but keep in mind, like, there's just not enough research to support that it does cure cancer or bone loss or
Mm-hmm.
anti-aging. So, like, why fuck with it? You know?
Yeah.
Just some food for thought.
Or water for thought. Anyway,
Any closing thoughts on alkaline water?
who the fuck came up with this idea?
It's been around for a long time, though.
I don't know. Anyways, so that kind of concludes our just like overall.
Rant.
Yes, I went, and I think we've gotten wet enough. With that being said, let's kind of go into our social media shout out of the week, and that goes to Liana Chapman 21. So
Yay!
yeah, thank you for following us. She is I think a West Virginia University dietetics grad. So
Awesome.
I assume she's becoming an RD, and she is also an eating disorder advocate and an animal enthusiast.
Oh,
So
yay.
yeah, so
Thank you.
thank
We
you very much.
appreciate the support.
Mm-hmm. If you want to check her out, you can. But
Yeah, for sure. Awesome. So that concludes our episode. We hope you enjoyed it and learned a little bit about different types of water and
who knew?
alkaline water, to be exact. Yeah, we would love to hear your thoughts.
All right. Thanks,
All right.
guys.
Catch you next time. Bye.
Bye.
We need. Thanks for listening to the Keeping It Juicy podcast.
Your main squeeze in nutrition.
Don't forget to subscribe so you can join us every Tuesday for a brand new episode.
Also, you can find us on Instagram and Facebook at Keeping It Juicy Podcast.
We'd love to hear from you, so please leave us a review.
5 stars, no less.
On whatever platform you're listening to, or send us an email at keepingitjuicypodcast@gmail.com.
Or if you have any topics you'd like for us to touch upon, shoot us an email. Until next time, don't do anything that I wouldn't do. Okay, I have a joke for you.
What's up? What's up? What?
What do you call a fake noodle?
An impasta.
You ruined it!
I've heard that one before.
That was literally the first thing. Okay, no. So, what did the baby corn say to its mom?
Baby corn.
What did the baby corn say to its mom?
Baby corn. Say to its mom.
Where is popcorn?
Oh man.
Was that loud?
That's a good one.
What is a pretzel's favorite dance?
The twist.